Hello, everyone, and welcome to, I guess it's episode 10 again? Almost starting to get to the point where I'm forgetting what episode I'm on. I guess that's a good thing. We're on episode 10, and we're talking about Gettysburg today, of all places. Not too much in depth into the battle, as much as we are touring the Battle of Gettysburg. Well, the battlefield of Gettysburg. It's Monday night. There is snow coming down yet again. I don't know how everybody feels about snow. I do not like it at all. I think snow is awful. It is cold. It is wet. It is miserable. Why the hell do you want to play in it? I don't know. Maybe I'm just grouchy at snow for some reason. But you know what? I've really never had that much of a love for snow. Except for maybe getting out of school. Because that was a plus. But I don't even get to do that now. The magic of a snow day seems to be gone. Tonight with me that is going to be helping me talk about Gettysburg and touring Gettysburg is someone who actually loves to tour the battlefield himself. He's been with me playing a lot of my games. So if you guys have seen me streaming rather than this podcast here, a lot of the times you guys may have come in and you've seen podcasts. That's not what we're doing here. Tonight what we're going to be doing is more so talking about what it's like to tour, what it's like to be on that battlefield and have moments at certain spots that you wouldn't have at other spots of the battlefield, if you catch my drift. That's certainly a thing. I know I feel a completely different way over at the cornfield. Wow, I feel a completely different way over at the wheat field versus me going to Pickett's Charge. Without any further ado, though, I would like to have Lemon come in before I just start talking and forget that I need to put him in here, because I will do that. Lemon, are you with me?
I am here.
All right, Lemon. Well, welcome aboard.
Oh, no problem.
All right. Well, I sort of started off on a brief just talking about kind of what we wanted to touch on tonight, and that's visiting the battlefield of Gettysburg. More so than discussing the battle. So I grabbed books today, obviously, because I wanted to kind of give you a take of what I would bring to the battlefield once me and Lemon get into talking, about visiting, how you would start a tour, depending on what your goal is in going to Gettysburg, whether it's just a family day trip, if it's a study trip, or if it's I haven't been before and I want to cram as much as I can in one day in and get the heck out and start reading at home from the comfort of my armchair, catch up and go spend more time there. Because that was what I did. And it worked for me. I don't know if it's going to work for everybody, but it's working. It's something worked. But I want to talk about how all of that can be accommodated, actually. And I think it would be very interesting to know because a lot of folks listening to this might have been already. So this might be something that a friend comes to you one day and asks you, hey, I want to go to Gettysburg, but what should I do? If you don't know the answer right off the top of your head, you can just let them know there's a video right here. Watch this. I'll clip some highlights. There will be certain answers. I think that'd be a cool little segment later just to have like certain in-depth aspects of certain parts of the battlefield. But that's not what we're doing today. Today we're talking about the entirety of the battlefield and giving it the tour, the tour vibe, I guess, because we've been stuck inside for so long. And damn it, I haven't been to Gettysburg in almost a year, and I want to go back.
Yeah, I think it's been 2 years since I've been there.
Yeah, I went last summer. It's a complete different environment with COVID. Regardless of COVID or not, I just want to go stand on that darn field. I'll have a mask on. I don't care. It's a mask. Small price to pay to go stand at Gettysburg compared to what some people paid to be at Gettysburg.
Yeah.
So I can wear a mask. It's okay. We can all wear a mask at Gettysburg. That's what we can do. We can all go. We continue to do that. Next thing I want to look at is once we get past talking about what it's like to tour the battlefield, and Lemon, again, I want you to really talk about what you've done because you don't really go to a tour when you head to these battlefields in the sense of trying to, I guess you would say, vigorously study the battle.
I've sort of just done more research on my end that, like, when I go and take a tour bus, me personally, I'm just like, oh, they're just going to run me down with the basics. It's a lot more fun when you go on your own. Like, especially they sell like these little audiobooks that you have for your car, and
Mm-hmm.
you'll literally be driving around, and at the battle area they have like the markers so that go along with it. It's pretty cool.
All right, cool. We're starting with that because I've actually never done an audio tour of Gettysburg.
Yeah. Okay.
So I
So
want you, like, what was the experience like? Did you go? So you went to the visitor center, I imagine, first, because most things people do when they go to battlefields
I
is
don't.
go to the visitor center. I mean, that's where you would get the audio tour, I would think, at the bookstore
Well,
there or something.
so I think there's two places because the new visitor center like just opened up recently. Not recently, but a few years ago. Um,
2013.
yeah, I want to say around there. Um, but there was they do a lot of reenactments. I don't remember the name. It's
Daniel Lady Farm,
it's kind of like this.
Heritage Center.
I think so.
Is it
I
on
don't know.
Steinmar Avenue?
I think so.
Okay.
It's like it kind of has like a museum kind of look, but it's not big. Like it's decently big, but it's not like big big. I can't remember the name of it.
Is it on the main stretch into Gettysburg if you're coming past
I think it comes up from the south.
it comes up from the south. Kingshot, welcome to
Yeah.
the stream, man. Now Kingshot sees in the comments he's been to Gettysburg with me before, and he got to have a little bit of the experience. I made him try the French onion soup at the Dobbin House because you cannot go to Gettysburg if you don't have
Oh
that
yeah.
soup. That's the
That or the
staple.
Lincoln Diner.
Oh, Lincoln Diner too. It's I got some funny stories with Lincoln Diner, but Lincoln Diner was really good.
Oh my gosh, it's probably my favorite.
Yeah, I get. We used to go real early so that I could get up there and get chip beef early in the morning, man, and a cup of coffee. Like, I'd be up in that restaurant by 8, so I'm leaving Fredericksburg by like 5:30 maybe, if I'm lucky. But it's worth it.
And
Sheets Coffee holds you over until then. I mean, that's at least an hour and a half of coffee to run off of.
yes, it was the Heritage Center.
It was the Heritage Center. Okay, yeah, I've been in there before plenty
Yes.
of times.
So they will actually have like the auto tour, and you'll plug it in your car and it goes from day one all the way to day three. So you head all the way out to I'm having a brain dump right now. I'm sorry. You head all the way out to the west, and it's also they also have it on the map. Like Google Maps, like actually like recognizes it. It's pretty big over there. So you start all the way over there by
Which you would call the
Reese's
day one
Battery.
battlefield. Yeah, so you start out
Yeah,
over by Caleb's. Not what's the Caleb's battery? No,
like
not
McPherson Farm and all
McPherson's
that.
Ridge. Yeah, that seems to be the most logical place to start a tour.
Yeah, so they pretty much go like chronological order.
That's good. I mean, I
And
think that is very important to do when you're trying to discuss this battle because it's one of those ones that I like to talk about has more of an appearance of a battlefield than what we might get, say, here in Fredericksburg, that I'm used to. Right?
right.
You look to your left and there's a monument, but it's in the middle of the hustle and bustle of Virginia State 3. So Highway 3 is running through. It's a 4-lane highway divided by a
Mhm.
median. That whole sector of Route 3 was the Salem Church battlefield, and there are two New Jersey monuments to commemorate that, but they're tucked in modern sprawl. It's very hard to really picture that you're on a battlefield. And you go to a place like Gettysburg, and I mean, holy crap, there's fields are just flowing and flowing. I mean, look at the picture here, even in the live video. You got the picture. It shows you that that's a battlefield. That's what you think when you think the word battlefield. That's the image I would
Yeah.
imagine comes into most folks' head. So, seeing something like that, it's a different interpretation than what I'm used to when it even comes to just the chronological order of taking someone through a battlefield like that. And it's important to see people starting and being able to orient themselves because it's something you don't really get the chance to do at a place like this in Fredericksburg. Yes, you can try to orient them. Go ahead and try to orient somebody in the wilderness, for God's sakes. It can be done, but it's not easy. Gettysburg, you can say point to that
Right.
tree on the left over there. It's the only tree in the field. And look at the
That
cannon
or
over there.
just
Yeah,
look at the tree line.
right. Look at the monument
Look at
here.
the
Look at
tree
the
line.
monument there. Look at the tree line. Yeah, but you've got all of these visual aids to help you through the battlefield. And I think that
It's
driving
really
tour starting in chronological order at a place like that is important to just get, I guess, a good beginning orientation.
yeah, and the great thing with the audiobook as well is that like when it's like it helps you like visualize it. So like once you get up towards like the Eternal Light Peace Memorial, like
Absolutely.
that area. So one of the stops is like right there, and you know how it's like kind of on top of like a little hill, like on like kind of like a little ridge.
That's Oak Hill and Oak Ridge, bud.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know. Yeah, that's a big part of the battle.
It helps you very well visualize because it's like if you look over here, like it's like, oh yeah, that's the Lincoln Highway, all that. Like it's very, it helps you visualize a lot of stuff
I
because
really
it
hope
tells
we
you.
go one day,
Oh, definitely.
because that is actually, you brought up a very good spot to do the orientation, if you will. One of the best tools that I have next to the Gettysburg Campaign Atlas, and let me scroll over here in my little wheelie chair and pull it off the shelf for us, is the maps of Gettysburg.
Oh yeah.
It's a little bit smaller, and like I like to bring a lot of books with me at battlefields, and I mean, it's not hard to put a couple in your car, throw it in the passenger seat, throw it in the trunk, whatever, and just carry a stack with you. But if you plan to get out and walk and hike, you don't want to have a crap ton of books in your backpack, because
Oh yeah.
it
No,
is
especially
going.
in July.
Yeah, you get out there and if. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what time you would plan to go to Gettysburg. And of course, with COVID going on, I can't say when the next trip's going to be. But I plan to not pack as much. I bring the books, yes, but I started to really think the last time I went out and I had that many in my bag, I was like, I don't know that I want to do this ever again. I think this is overdone at this point. I think I'm good.
It's definitely, depending on when you go, it's also definitely a time that you want to bring a lot of water because believe it or
Of
not, it
course.
gets hot out.
Yep.
It gets surprisingly hot out.
I have 2 liters of water every day at Gettysburg, at least, with me. In arm's reach. They're always going to be in my bag. And a bag is definitely something I would bring. So, even before we talked about the audio tour, I think we should probably talk about that. Like, having water.
Yeah.
The options of what tours you
Depends
can
on when you
have.
go though.
You can get a licensed
I mean-
battlefield guide tour. Remember, you can do that.
Yeah.
You can have a guided tour, sit in the car with you, and take you around the battlefield. That's going to be
Yeah,
a little
right.
bit of a cost compared to the other available tours that you can take. But there is something, if you're that ready to go in depth and you want them to sit and drive your car around for you and show you this, and that, hey, that's an option you can take. I do currently, at least if they're still showing the same things, I'm out of the loop. I haven't been. But the movie there is incredible. I do. It's called A New Birth of Freedom, and it's very, very well done. Morgan Freeman, I believe, is the narrator. So nice little powerful narration there as well. And if you get a chance to go, or you will have a chance if you see the movie and you take that ticket, you'll be able to see the cyclorama, which is something I absolutely stress that you go see.
Are you talking about the visitor center?
Yeah, at the visitor center. And Clinton Richardson's going to Gettysburg in May. Oh, you lucky duck. Make sure you take lots of pictures and let us know how it is. We'd be interested to hear about that. But yes, I was talking about the visitor center because that was one of the first experiences in the new visitor center. So before that new visitor center opened, I think I went, what year did I go? 2015 was the first time I went back since 2007. Maybe even 2006, my dude. Yeah, my dad was still alive. So we went to Hershey Park in Pennsylvania. And that was at like the height of me at that age getting into the Civil War. It was like right in the middle school. I still had VHS tapes of the Civil War combat series that was being run on the History Channel. So I was into it at that point. I wasn't, kind of off in the clouds just thinking it was cool. I was starting to know what I was talking about. And I started seeing, when we rode into Gettysburg, I was pointing out landmarks that I've never been to before just because I've watched the same VHS 35 times preparing for this trip.
Yeah.
So, that's the thing too. I think kind of to bring. I didn't have that new visitor center experience when I first went. It was a small visitor center. Honestly, I felt like there were more artifacts on display than what I saw through the visitor center when I went. Because I actually walked through the museum the last time that I went up to Gettysburg. Or the second to last time. First time that I went up this year. Last year, 2020. Good Lord. I went up twice in 2020. The first time in 2020 that I went up, I did go through the Visitor Center Museum after doing the movie and the cyclorama again. Because again, you just can't miss that, man.
They do a wonderful job
They
with
do. I mean, absolutely.
all of that.
There's a light show that goes on behind it, and I will tell you what. If you get a chance to do this program that happens every so often, it's known as the Evening with the Painting, where a guide will take you down into the very bottom of the cyclorama and actually have you right up close to it. That is incredible. I've heard so many good things about that opportunity, and I have been just waiting for COVID to freaking go away so that we can do something like that again, because I think a program like that would be just what we need to boost some spirits up. Clinton Richardson, you say, yes, sir. Isn't it strange how grass doesn't grow at Louis Armistead's monument? His great-grandson flew on a B-17 crew in World War II. That's very interesting, and yes, I would agree that's very strange. Well, the cyclorama. Yeah, that's definitely a recommendation. So if you get into the visitor center, do not leave without that movie and that cyclorama experience. And hell, I might as well plug them just because I think you should read something. I'm not necessarily saying buy all your books from there, but get a couple books while you're up there, please. Find something that you really, really think would be interesting. I'll throw some recommendations out tonight that I think might be something that could be of interest. And again, as you know, they'll be up in the comments, and so you can find them and go to their respective links later on.
If you just want to know a good book with Gettysburg, what's it called? Killer's Angels?
So that's a novel. That's a novel. That wouldn't be one I would ever recommend someone to learn.
I was going to say it's what they base the movie off of.
Oh, right, yeah. But yeah, I wouldn't, if you're trying to read an actual historiography.
History.
No. Good book. Good novel. Great. Fantastic read. So I honestly, even as much as I don't like Gods and Generals, I was reading the Gods and Jackson book that Shara wrote. I wasn't too big of a fan, but I keep calling it Gods and Jackson. I'm sorry, but it's what it is. It was supposed to be so many different generals too, but it only focused on Jackson. I was like, yo, Robertson did such a good job in his 750-page book. Do we really need to write him in that one too? I wanted it to be like Gettysburg, where it was like multiple different perspectives, but it was really like Jackson, Chamberlain, Lee. I think that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, there may have been like maybe one or two other in there. I mean, I get what he tried to do. Like, it was good for what it was, I guess, for entertainment purposes. But I wasn't really a fan of that one or the first one. It is required reading at West Point. Interesting. I actually, Fonz's Day One is on my shelf. Clinton, that's definitely up there. Ready. I've read that quite a few times. I think I have the hardback up there. In fact, I have that one. I have Second Day, and then I have Culp's Hill, because those three are for sure essentials to have on the Battle of Gettysburg if you're really trying to take it studiously. If you're trying to just really have a day out in the battlefield, but you want to have, I guess, like I said earlier, that little bit of a study, but not anything too crazy in depth, I'd recommend starting with getting familiar with the monuments to kind of get yourself in the right areas of where you're going to want to be when you're studying. Now, not every monument marks the place or a placeholder of where this regiment or this battery or this cavalry or whatever it might be actually stood, deployed, fought, whatever. Tattooed Historian, thank you for joining the stream. It's good to have you in. But I think at least knowing where this monument is of someone you might be trying to study, again, whether it be regimental, cavalry, battery, whatever, having an idea of where that is and located is important. So a good guide for that was the Guide to Gettysburg Battlefield Monuments. It's self-explanatory. Tom Huntington would be the author of this one, and it's perfect. It's a small pocket-sized book, so it's not weighing down that backpack. The most overlooked location at Gettysburg, right off the top of my head, I'm gonna tell you, is Culp's Hill. And I think many people can attest to that over on Twitch, over on Facebook. I mean, Culp's Hill is definitely, and I'll even be willing to bet to say that that's the most overlooked mainstream location at the park. I hate to say mainstream like it's some hipster thing, but I mean, it's seriously, that's the bigger of the ones that aren't really, looked at as much. I like to say East Cavalry Field is barely touched.
Yeah.
And East Cavalry Field is a very interesting battlefield. The Rummel Barn out there is really interesting to go see. And you're right. It is very underrated. Culp's Hill is just a lack of attention completely. But I have that inkling in the back of my head. I mean, I know it's a cavalry fight, so it doesn't necessarily have the same draw as going to Pickett's Charge or going to the assaults up and down Culp's Hill or the assaults on Cemetery Hill or Seminary, whatever it might be there. But I think that, I mean, Custer's here fighting. We have, I think Thomas Rosser's even over there fighting at the Rummel Barn.
I think so.
Yeah, this is a rear guard action. This is a protection, and not even a rear guard. Sorry, this is like the whole eastern flank of the army being attacked, and so you have this huge part of the battlefield over there protected, but not necessarily visited at all. I mean, the times that I've gone, I've never seen another car on that part of the battlefield.
Yeah, I'm gonna bounce off of that real quick because when you said that, it was like not really looked at that much. I didn't really even know about it until because like a lot of books that I've read, they just completely just go over it because they mainly focus on like the second day with like fucking Culp's Hill, Little Round Top, they focus on the main ones,
Mm-hmm.
and then they won't even like touch on the cavalry charge in the back.
No, and that's the thing. They don't touch on that, and that's again maybe why people don't understand that this is there. I mean, it's on the map, but it's not like a main draw to go and see because it's kind of out of the way. You have to really kind of get to it if you want to see it. It's one of those sites. So I mean, that would be an evident reason for it not to be visited.
Sorry, correction. Third day.
But you have like the Jackson Death Site at the Fredericksburg National Military Park. That is one of the most out of the way sites in this area here. But people do still go to visit it, but it is nowhere near what is out at the Bloody Angle at Spotsylvania Courthouse, or nowhere near what is out at Chancellorsville at the Jackson Flank Attack or the Jackson Wounding Site. It's nowhere near what's out at the Sunken Road and Stone Wall at Fredericksburg. But it's visited.
Yeah.
It is. It is visited. Clinton Richardson again. Fun fact: Culp's Hill was the most favorite part for tourists at Gettysburg in the post-war because you could still see the bullets and cannonballs still on the hill. That is a very interesting fact. Well, I appreciate you sharing, Clinton. This is very valuable information. John, since you're in the chat here, or Tattooed Historian, what would you say is your favorite part of the battlefield? Is it Culp's Hill by chance? The emphasis on the so makes me want to draw conclusions that Culp's Hill might just be your favorite, but I could be wrong. I don't want to assume.
Wait for his response, and I have something to bounce off of that.
Yeah, no kidding. But another thing I like to see when I go, he's at the Rose Farm.
Rose Farm.
Ooh.
That's the one that I don't see that much.
I spent a lot of time at the Rose Farm following. Are you familiar with Frassinito, John?
Yes. Oh, there you're at.
William Frassinito's photography or photographic history of Gettysburg. Because we might be talking Rose Farm the same reason, or maybe you have a different connection. Definitely. Okay. I have taken that book and tried to walk out there just a few times to get a sense for that, because Frassinito is one of those books that really, I think, sends a message home, if you will, when you're out there looking at these pictures of some of the dead that are left over from the battle that have sat through some very unfortunate circumstances, which we can even get into it more, because I've got a couple of recommendations on what A Strange and Blighted Land, which we'll talk about. There's a lot of good stuff, but that right there is something that can bring a human interest aspect out when you're at the battlefield, and that right there is something to cling to as a new tourist on the battlefield, or a new visitor. I'm sorry, I don't like referring to him as tourist. I like visitor. But as a new visitor to a battlefield, having a moment like that where a human interest story can really draw you in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Strange and Blighted Land is my favorite Gettysburg book. Hey, well, we're all wings on the same bird, my friend. I absolutely find that to be on the top of my list when it comes to Gettysburg, because that was a book I could not put down, like, literally. The day that I picked up Gregory Coco's book, I was hooked. And it was nice to have it in a Savage Beatty publication too, because that Savage Beatty, I love them. I always try to plug Savage Beatty because they put out some wonderful, wonderful books. Half of my library is Savage Beatty anyway, so I have to plug them. And the Rose Farm
Yeah.
is possibly the bloodiest farm in American history. Huh.
I mean, it makes sense.
I might. I don't know. I don't know. There's a few that are boggling. The Roulette Farm at Antietam, the Sunken Lane. That's a pretty bloody farm. Miller Farm at Antietam's bloodier than Rose Farm. Thank you, John. I didn't even think about that. What? Duh. That cornfield was a nasty place to be.
So the actual bloodiest farm is D.R. Miller Farm in Maryland.
Yep, and that's what Tattooed Historian just said. David R. Miller Farm. That's at Antietam.
Mm-hmm.
I walked that 2 years ago when there was corn up, and I don't say that I want to do it again. Not that it was like painful, but it was hard to walk through. It was just very somber.
Yeah.
You know?
Going up to the Colts Hill thing again,
Mm-hmm.
because I had one thing to add with that. One thing that makes it really cool is that it looks like there's like no monuments up there, but you'll be walking the hill, and you'll just find monuments just in the middle of nowhere. It's just like one of the ones I found. I want to say it was like 100 feet off the road, probably more, and it was just like where one of the officers was like shot and killed, and like had the mark like the like where he was, and they put a monument there like where he was standing and everything. It's pretty cool. Like you'll just find like a bunch of you just find monuments just all over the place down there, and you wouldn't even know that they were there
A
unless
lot
you
of us
walked.
joke that you have to pay attention or else you'll walk into a monument at Gettysburg.
Pretty much.
Yeah. One other part of that, I guess we were talking about the audio tour. For those that are joining in now, may have been coming in a little earlier. We started off with the audio tour and got sidetracked about the visitor center because I felt that that was just an appropriate place to really kind of start us off. But he had the unconventional stop at the Heritage Center, which isn't necessarily unconventional. I guess it was unconventional in my terms because, again, that really goes to play off my earlier point in opening this show tonight was about it's all up to how you are able to tour the battlefield and what you're comfortable with. So he was comfortable with going to the Heritage Center first, grabbing his audio tour and going to the first day's battlefield, starting around McPherson Ridge. I wanted to go sit and see the movie and walk around the cyclorama and buy a book or two and get all my book shopping done, so most of the time I could spend is out there on the field, so I'm not messing around. The only time I'm not on the field at that point is whether I'm in the bathroom or it's time to go get my French onion soup at Dobbin House because I've got reservations at 8. Very specific about that, all right?
Yeah.
But that's the itinerary I can generally set for myself, but I've also worked to the point where I know where to go and I know how to navigate the roads and everything like the back of my hand. Gettysburg has been a second home. I mean, boy, when I had my days with beer, Gary Owen. Oh boy, Gary Owen, that's a favorite place of mine. I love going to the Gary Owen. I love that, very much so love that. Blue and Gray for burgers is the place I'll still frequent because I love getting the Long Street Burger.
Oh yeah.
Which we can go into a whole separate episode just about downtown Gettysburg and some of the local shops and the things you'll see in downtown Gettysburg.
Like you.
And I mean, we have time now.
We're
We're only 30 minutes in, so maybe we will talk about that while we're here. Can't wait to do my live events again. Yeah, dude, I wish I could have been to one of those when they happened. I started watching you when they were at Gary O, and I remember seeing those on the live streams. I thought they were the bee's knees, so I was like, man, being able to catch one of those at Gary O would be pretty cool. And like I said, once we all get vaccinated and this thing gets circulated, man, like I'm thinking maybe end of summer, hopefully. With that, again, wishful thinking. Could you just imagine there, nice fall weather, everybody's at Gary Owen for the night and spend the day walking the fields again? Man, I can't wait. I can't wait. But yeah, there's so much to do even after the fields.
You got a lot of good food out there, especially, and then you just got a lot of these like little tiny museums.
Maybe it's been said before. I don't know. Is it wrong to say that it's the Disney World of Civil War history?
I can see that because you'll see this
I
little
don't mean to
hole in the
say it
wall
like that to
shop.
take any disrespect or any type of shots at any soldier who was killed or wounded at Gettysburg, because obviously those are the reasons we study and do what we do today, is for them to keep their story alive. But I mean, it's almost the atmosphere of even in being in the circle, or for a lot of people, or maybe not a lot of people actually, the diamond. You may only hear a few people call it the diamond, but I'm one of those firm believers that it's supposed to be referred to as the diamond. That's how I've always heard it as. Um, with that too, it's just that the town feels very much like it's an amusement park. Lemon,
Yeah,
do you wanna touch on anything about the town before we start talking about the field?
I mean, do you want to hit the Jenny Wade house real quick?
You want me to make a confession?
What's that?
I
Oh, let me
haven't
guess.
stopped. No desire. I shouldn't say no desire, and I'm gonna get scolded for this one probably. And maybe I need to go just to say that I've actually been. Maybe this will be my 2021 thing for Gettysburg this year, is to actually go to the Jenny Wade house. Um,
I'll say this. It's pretty
well,
cool when
eventually,
you
you know
get.
what? Maybe I'll just wait until my daughter's of age enough to understand it, and I'll take her to it
Yeah,
when she's born. Maybe I'll just take her. I'll wait
I'll
for it.
say this. Gettysburg is full of like myths and legend has it. Like speaking of like the Jenny Wade house. So you know how like she put two doors up and then to make sure like no bullets would go through and like try and make it like safe or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and they still went through. Well, legend has it that if you like put your ring finger through it,
Mm-hmm.
you can get like
Oh, I have heard that
you'll get
thing. I saw that circulating on social media the other day in one of the Gettysburg groups I belong to. I think I'm in like 25 Gettysburg groups too, so they all get jumbled. But there are a certain few that I know right off the bat that I absolutely adore. And we've had MJ actually featuring on this a few weeks ago. God, was it a few weeks ago already now? It was not last. We didn't have her on last week, did we?
I don't know.
10 episodes in will do that to you, folks. Wow. But she runs one of those groups. It's very successful too, and I think those also help prepare a lot of people for their first trips to Gettysburg. So I'm gonna plug that in really quickly, because I do think that these help. If you are on social media and you're trying to figure out, a question to how you're going to approach coming to Gettysburg, I think finding a group on on Facebook, on Twitter, on whatever it might be that you're using to go on social media. Ask the questions once you're in the group. Don't jump to the first question's answer. Wait and see how many you get and judge by the ones that you get, because you're going to get many different responses, which is what I love so much about Gettysburg. You'll get a few that match up. So if you're getting a few that say the same thing over and over again, you know what that means? You go to that spot. But then you'll get different, like, in different places that you won't even think of, that may not be a good idea to go to, because it may not be something that lines up to you. Again, you're just asking for other people's ideas of where to go. Gettysburg and visiting that really has to be tailored to you to walk away from that place with the effect that you're supposed to get, because I think that everybody can achieve that there. But it's all about how they are brought into Gettysburg, if you know what I mean. And I don't mean this to like say that you have to just put yourself in this huge mindset going into Gettysburg and rah, rah, very serious. You just have to let Gettysburg be Gettysburg while you're there. You don't judge for anything that you read and anything that you see. You're there to understand and to learn. Then you take your books at home and you open those things and you open your notebooks and you write your questions out, and then you formulate your judgments. Because you need to understand the ground that these men are walking on and making decisions, and these tours are helpful for that. They give you the opportunity to walk the ground and see the terrain and see the sights that these men are seeing, that they're going to be reading about when they get home if they have that interest. And don't you think that's going to paint more of a clear picture to that person after seeing that and being on that field and walking the same field that a decision's being made on? I I think so. Lemon, do you think it is?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, definitely.
So with that being said, where would you like to start us on the field?
You want to just go from day one?
Sure. I'm gonna let you start with your favorite place on day one first. I want you to pick a place. It can be any portion of that field. Let me know what it
I'll have to
was and
say,
describe it.
I'll say for day one, for my favorite place for day one, there's two places. So the first one being Reynolds Monument, like where he was shot, because you can. He was he like just arrived, and right when he was trying to inspire his men and everything, he gets shot on top of his horse, and they have they kind of built like a little mound for him and put his monument on top of it right there. It's pretty cool to see and everything. Like it's kind of hidden, like because it's right up against a tree line, but it's also right there in the open at the same time. And then my second probably has to be towards the Eternal Light Peace Memorial, mainly because it's that field where Union cavalry dismounted and was just trying to hold the line against regiments of Confederate infantry. And just looking at that field, especially when you eventually, Reese's battery moves up to it, it's pretty cool to see. They also have one of the uh what's it called? Observation posts, like observation tower, where you climb it up and you could just see just this sheer mass of the entire battlefield and everything. Like it's amazing what you can see from there. Like you see I want to say like 10 miles in every direction other than to the west because of the tree line. It's just amazing to see it.
I like that. I'm very, and I don't know how to say this nicely, but there's a very famous spot on day one over there on Doubleday Avenue where the North Carolinians met not so nice of a fate.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people call them Iverson's Pits, but I just feel like it's just nasty to say that, but that's what it is. On that portion of the field, uh, Iverson's known to be hiding around the Forney farm when this attack happens. And as North Carolinians move forward, Federals rise up from a stone wall and pour a very close and deadly fire into their ranks. And as a member would later note, there were men slain in lines almost as they stood in dress. That story was first told to me, obviously being very young. Something that powerful sticks with you, and you get a feeling when you first hear that. So you associate that feeling with that location on the battlefield every time you go. Maybe that's not as common as I think it is, but I think that's very common, and I think that's what draws certain people to certain spots of a battlefield. And maybe that's more obvious than I thought it was. I don't know. I'm just explaining what I have felt on these fields. Even talking about it, it's still because I feel a mix of things. I'm pissed off that he's over here hiding or nowhere to be seen, leading his men. And he's eventually banished from the army by Lee, and that's probably just like a hellacious thing to have to endure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like, who wants to be banished by Robert E. Lee? Not I, said the cow. Not me. But to know that they stayed in rank and file until they got that close to those muskets, man. I mean, what was that? Was that suicide? Was that bravery? Was that... What's that? What was that?
Like I couldn't stand there and rank and file.
Sir.
Like if it was me, I would probably just broken off into and started firing back. I couldn't stay in like shoulder to shoulder. Just be like, all right, well the guy in front of me passed, so I gotta take his spot, and most likely I'm next. You know.
And I know we're supposed to be picking one spot just for sake of time where everything's at. I don't care if we go a few minutes over an hour, but another one that I really like on day one is the railroad cut. Obviously, you know what? No,
Oh
absolutely.
yeah.
You know what? No, sorry, scratch that. No, it's not. When you take that right turn, I try to remember, it's not Archer. What is it called? That road there that takes you down by the quarry, down by Willoughby Run. Willoughby Run's actually my favorite site on the first day's battlefield, even over the Iverson's Pits. Iverson's Pits number 2. I completely forgot about. I don't know how I forgot about this experience. The first time I was able to actually venture off on my own on the field, I took that Maps of Gettysburg by Bradley Gottfried with me because at the time I didn't have the atlas that I have now by Philip Lino. That book, I love it so much. Oh my gosh, that's great. But I still love the maps too because that was what gave me my first real understanding of what happens over there to Archer's Brigade as they're moving up and past Willoughby Run and facing the fire of the Iron Brigade up on the crest of the hill. And the whole ordeal with General Reynolds, it just fascinated me, being able to spend an hour or 2 hours out there walking along Willoughby Run, seeing the quarry, walking up and just taking little peeks over this little rise of a hill to look at the top spires of the McPherson barn on McPherson's Ridge. And to put yourself in that position, even when you're alone and you're spending that time there, and you're reading about all these things that are just swirling like a hurricane all around you, it's a feeling that's absolutely surreal, and I don't think you'll ever get it anywhere else. Maybe in some other aspect, I don't know. Like I said, I have never in my life felt something like that anywhere else but a battlefield.
Gettysburg does a very well job of making you feel mixed emotions and everything just throughout the entire battlefield.
I mean, every Civil War battlefield does that for you, man. If you look at it the right way, every battlefield should do that. Because there should be decisions that made you mad, and there should have been decisions that made you like, oh, this was very smart. Okay, Chancellorsville. Hooker, some people call him an idiot. The bumbling idiot was hit in the head by a fragment of a pillar that knocked him unconscious, and he darn sight had a concussion by the time he woke up. Do you think this man is in any type of mindset to command the Army of the Potomac? You're off your rocker if you think that's the case. But you bet your ass he stays in. And then after that, you've got a decision so controversial, like Lee and Jackson's decision to split the army the way they did, Jackson taking 20,000 men, leaving Lee with 14,000 roughly, thereabouts, to counter Hooker's center. The center of the Army of the Potomac.
Yeah.
14,000 Confederates from the Army of Northern Virginia. Sounds crazy. But it worked, didn't it? So we look at that decision as one of the most tactically sound and best executed maneuvers we see in the Civil War, and quite frankly, thereafter. But we also see anger in a lot of decisions like Hooker. Sometimes you see it within orders that are happening in the heat of the battle. I'm sure, there's a lot of those that you could be happy and mad about. My buddy Jeff loves to tell me every single time we talk about it how pissed off he is that Senator Edward Baker was killed at Ball's Bluff. It just pisses him off, and he doesn't ever hold back on telling me. But it's those things I like because you've got an emotional connection to that battlefield. Now you're going to go to that battlefield and probably, quite frankly, get pissed off because Baker's killed there. The rebels shot a sitting United States senator. That should boil your fucking blood, man. Excuse my French, but that's how crazy that is. That makes me mad. I'm really sorry I said that. That genuinely makes me upset. And to hear that you can go to that field and be like, man, rebels shot Baker? But that's what a battlefield does. Again, and Gettysburg, you said, is really good at that. And for some reason, yes, it is. It is very good at that. It's the mecca for that. Let's move to day 2.
Ooh. Again, I got 2. I mean,
Go
I
ahead.
honestly.
Go. I told you I don't care if we go over an hour at this point. You got 2. You got 2. Please.
Yeah.
I went 2. You've got 2. If you have a second for first days, finish with your first
Yeah.
day second first, and then go to day 2.
I'll start with the hidden gem, and that's Culp's Hill. I already said why earlier, and it was pretty much just because you'll walk that hill for an hour, and you'll just find monuments you don't even know exist. Like, it's just like, oh, hey, cool. Like you look at all the other like hills, like you look at Little Round Top, there's monuments all over the place, and then you go to Culp's Hill, it's like, man, there ain't shit until you, or sorry, there really ain't much until you start really walking around. Like, oh, there's one there, there's another one over there. Oh, what? There's one all the way down there. They like it's amazing. So,
A second. You
and
said
then
there was a second you had, right?
yes, of course, you know me. I have a hunch for Little Round Top, so I have to say that one as well. Yes, it's looked at a lot, and yes, it's a little bit over. I'm not. Well,
I'm
I
sorry. I'm
wouldn't say
not gonna
overrated.
let you get away with just saying you like Little Round Top and get out without explaining it. Guess what, bud? You're explaining why you like Little Round
All
Top.
right, I like Little Round Top mainly the aspect of well, also because I do like 20th man history, and I do like Chamberlain. I love reading the history of him and everything. Like it, if you ever watch the movies and you just see what they have to go up against, and you go to that hill with how steep it is, like the actual defenses that they had, like it's kind of amazing that they pulled this off. Like I don't know, it hits me like a different like it hits an emotion in me. Like I don't know how I feel. Like I'm just like I kind of just left. I'll leave it like breathless, kind of. Not because it's so steep, but like it does a very good job when you can connect it with the movies and you read all the books and everything. Like it hits you somewhere different. And I'm not just looking at it like, oh, huh, well, Union won it on the left flank. No, I mean it's just from all like the stuff I've read. It's just like, man, they really pulled this off, and like just seeing it, it's amazing in my eyes.
And I like Little Round Top for what it is, the view. I've heard
Oh
that
yes,
Chamberlain story so many times. I'm just kidding. I actually just picked up 2 books on Chamberlain in the past year. That's a good thing.
did you?
Yeah, it's been in the past year, so it's not like a brand new development.
Yeah.
But they haven't been opened yet. Convinced me to open them this fall. Save me money. Convinced me to open them. I'm having a child. That'll be the biggest money saver of them all. But save me some more. I'm not asking for just a joke. Please help. I'm just kidding. They're
Yeah.
already taking my money in February because, on February 9th, there is a new book on the Battle of Fredericksburg, taking a new look at the Battle of Fredericksburg. In fact, I'm going to pull it up really quickly because I would like to just alert you guys that it's coming out. I don't want to endorse it yet until I read it. A book this big, it's only 500 pages, and I said only 500 pages like it was nothing. To me, that's
Only
actually not.
500.
That's a 2-3 day read for me because I just
Yeah.
will completely devote myself to it and even go to the point of maybe not even having a podcast till it's done. But we know that it is going to be out before Valentine's Day, Tuesday, February 9th, if you order on Amazon Prime, free shipping. The book is known as A Worse Place Than Hell: How the Civil War Battle of Fredericksburg Changed a Nation. $31.99. Hardcover. Nice to know that it's not a paperback release. It does look good. I'm going to read the review for you in a second, and then we'll get back to the topic here. It's sort of like a commercial, if you will, I just wanted to let people know that this is coming out. It's nice to know. We like talking about books on here a lot, especially when it's topical based. And Being is how I live smack dab in the middle of Fredericksburg, Virginia. This is going to have to be read just for a second. I just felt like it would be cool to alert, so now you know. December 1862 drove the United States toward a breaking point, and the Battle of Fredericksburg shattered Union forces and Northern confidence. As Abraham Lincoln's government threatened to fracture, this critical moment also tested 5 extraordinary individuals whose lives reflected the soul of a nation. The changes they underwent led to profound repercussions in the country's law, literature, politics, and popular mythology. Taken together, their stories offer a striking restatement of what it means to be American, guided by patriotism, driven by desire. All 5 moved towards singular destinies. A young Harvard intellectual steeped in courageous ideals, Oliver Wendell Holmes, Jr., confronted grave challenges to his concept of duty. The one-eyed Army chaplain Arthur Fuller pitted his frail body against the evils of slavery. Walt Whitman, a gay Brooklyn poet condemned by the guardians of propriety, and Louisa May Alcott, a struggling writer seeking an authentic voice and her father's admiration, tended soldiers' racked bodies as nurses. On the other side of the national schism, John Pelham, a West Point cadet from Alabama, achieved a unique excellence in artillery tactics as he served a doomed and misbegotten cause. A worse place than hell brings together the prodigious forces of war with intimacy of individual lives. Madison interweaves the historic and personal in a work as beautiful as it is powerful. So it looks like it's going to be pretty darn good. Don't judge a book by its cover, though. Let's read it first and see how it goes. Back to Gettysburg. We are on Little Round Top as Andrew's second favorite place.
Yeah.
On the second day's battlefield. Now, if we're going to choose first favorite places on the second day's battlefield, I'm going to have to go with, first and foremost, I'm going to have to go with the Peach Orchard.
That one in the wheat field is...
It's gotta be my favorite, man.
Don't they have is it wheat field or peach orchard? It just has a monument in the middle of the field.
That's the wheat field. That's the monument to Winslow's Battery. I remember it off the top of my head. I know Winslow's Battery very well.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's the battery for Winslow. Importante. Being in that peach orchard. I know, I'm just trying to gather my thoughts on this one because it gets really, sometimes not emotional, but just, yeah, emotional. I'm not going to front. On July 2nd, there was a salient formed by Joseph Hooker. Wow, look at me. Woohoo. Stonewall Jackson's going to San Juan Hill again, everybody. Or Snowball Jackson, like we said last night. I love that Snowball Jackson reference. I'm going to keep that for a long time. So I hope nobody gets offended by that. But
I'm going to hear that on War of Rights now.
It is. I'm going to change my name on War of Rights to Snowball Jackson. Having a family member he's a great-great-grandfather. And he serves in Parker's Virginia Battery. I've talked about him many times on here, I'm sure. If you've listened to some of the archived podcasts or if you've talked to me in person before or have heard my blogs, you know what I'm talking about. So, he moves his position forward after Sickles' line or salient is just crumbled over there on the peach orchard. And I don't think it's so much of this being Duffy's action, but it's what happens to men on both sides just in that small area. What happens at the Sherfy barn? Because I'm including the Sherfy farm and that area and the house as part of the peach orchard because it's the Sherfy peach orchard. It's their peach orchard. Okay? And we see some very devastating things at that place.
Definitely.
The 114th Pennsylvania Zouaves, very, very, very near and dear to my heart as a regiment from the north, from Philadelphia area, Pennsylvania. I have read quite a few things on them. I really do enjoy reading and learning about the 114th, especially from some of their acts of gallantry at Fredericksburg and Chancellorsville. They've got a nice monument over there on the side of Route 3. You would never probably ever see us there. And if you ever want to see that, you let me know. I would love to take people so that their monument gets visited more. You let me know. If anyone wants to see the 114th Pennsylvania Zouave Monument at Chancellorsville, get in touch with me. We'll work that out. But some of those boys that I read about in this, it was the first regiment that I started studying when I got interested in Gettysburg. Now, I'm fresh out of the Park Service. As an intern, I was there for almost two and a half years when I was interning. And then I got out and I was at just a restaurant making, small job, doing some little college work. And I started reading this book about the 114 Pennsylvania. I think it incorporated the 114 Pennsylvania in fact, yeah, it did, because it was the Harry Fonz's Day 2 at Gettysburg. Excuse me, my brain was jumbled there for a minute, guys. Day 2 at Gettysburg described the Sherfy barn in flames. Just before reading that it was in flames, they mentioned that it was a field hospital for the 114th Pennsylvania. And after the battle, when the Confederates started streaming back across the field and through the peach orchard back towards their positions where they launched off their attack that ended up stalling and costing ultimately Barksdale his life. Very sad day for the Mississippians on that side of the field. Very sad day for the New York and the Excelsior Brigade and the 3rd Corps on that side of the field. Very sad day for America that day, actually. But they see the remains of the 114th. Half charred, some alive, some not. That's a demoralizing sight to see.
Yeah.
Especially on a day like July 2nd, 1863. And again, it's not me sitting here trying to just bring these gross quotes out. But it's not okay for people to think that the Civil War was just some stand-up, clean, romantic, exciting thing, because then that gives it an adventurous feeling, and you don't want war to have an adventurous feeling.
No.
This is not what you would want to have. So it was nasty. Heads were rolling. You'd look next to you and your best friend's head is gone. Just up to the stump, though, just a little bit. But that sight right there, that's what brought that out of me right there. That seriousness I could talk to you about, and just like those visions that I'm having, these really horrific things that I'm seeing and reading about. And that's all over the battlefield, mind you. And you pick up A Strange and Blighted Land, you'll understand what I mean to that extent. But being there, knowing that happened, and knowing that there are actually marked graves in the Gettysburg National Cemetery that describe those men. Again, it's one of those powerful feelings. And I think it's important to pay attention to. That's my favorite place on Day 2. That's it.
All right.
Once you go ahead and start Day 3, that's it. Yep. Powerful enough. Don't need it to be any more than that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Day 3. Let's see. There really ain't much to really choose from here, but I probably have to... Sorry, I got to choose 2 again because I just remembered this one. So, first one being the copse of trees.
The copse of trees. That's Day 3.
Yeah, that's what I thought we were doing.
Oh, they said Day 2. You're doing another one Day 2. Oh, you're going to do 2 for Day 3. Okay, 2 for Day 3. The copse of trees. The high water mark. Yes. As they call it. Okay.
You know, that being the center of Lee's attack.
I know full well what that is.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think that's exactly what Lee meant, but dude, we'll talk about that in another episode. Give you some time to back up your claim and give me some time to back up mine again, even though I can back it over here. We'll wait. We'll do it. Yeah. But go ahead. That's your favorite spot. I don't want to challenge your spot. Go ahead.
Well, it's not these two are equal because,
okay.
You know, day 3, everything's pretty much right there in the same area.
Yeah.
I probably have to go with the first Massachusetts sharpshooter. Gotta stick with my good old sharpshooter units.
The Vermont or the Massachusetts?
Massachusetts. Like literally 100 yards down ahead. Yeah, ahead.
So have you ever
I forgot
seen
what-
the first Vermont or second Vermont sharpshooters that are all the way out actually past the Confederate line to start?
I've seen it. I just can't remember the location.
Oh, dude, we have some story. We have some Gettysburg. Go over. Trust me. That's okay though. That is perfectly okay.
Yeah, I probably have to go with that one, mainly because it's right there. Like they have this, they have the stone wall and everything, and it provides a very, very good view of just the land, like especially towards the famous, the famous wooden fence that instead of breaking down, they decided to climb over it. Like you could just see the sheer size of the land. And eventually, like once they got there and Armistead fell, which I'm pretty sure is also right there toward the close to that monument, if I remember correctly.
Mm.
I think it's actually like right there within 100 yards of it. But it gives a very good sight of just the sheer scale, like just how far, like you're watching this. What was it? How long was the Confederate line? It was like
A mile long
it,
in most places.
every book I read, it says a different like how long it was. I know it was like a mile long minimum. Not a mile. Well, could have been. I heard a mile, so I'll stick with that. But just the sheer size, just you're seeing all these men coming up. Keep in mind the Culp's Hill attack like just ended at like morning of the bombardment. Like literally within 30 minutes, the Culp's Hill attack ended. The Pickett's charge started. And it's just I have a kick for just, I can very well visualize what's going on, and I just love seeing the land and everything, and just it's land. It's not going to change within 150 years. Like there's not going to be a mountain in between it. It's going to be similar, not the same, but pretty similar. I'll stick with that.
I think that was good. I like that as your third day. Mine is actually not Pickett's Charge. It's gonna be East Cavalry Field, dude.
Oh yeah, that's right.
100% it's gonna be East Cavalry Field. I really do think that's one of the best secret. It's even though it's not a secret of Gettysburg at all. It's right there, and it's pretty darn cool. I'm glad we have it within the park. I don't have a lot of knowledge on it, even though it's my favorite. I wish I could go into detail and tell you some of the action, the cavalry action, but that is why I have 3 books on Custer over here to my left. It's not even without arm's reach from me.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know much about that one.
Not many people do, and that's okay. But that's something for me to learn and spend more time when I get back up to Gettysburg. Now that I have a nicer vehicle, I can actually make something like that happen. For those that may be wanting to visit Gettysburg, or have really missed it because of the COVID, I feel for you. I want to go too.
It's definitely a place to go.
Hopefully sooner than later we can get up there and go.
Yeah.
I want some French onion soup again, damn it. I really do.
It's all about that, what was that place called? It was like something Eddie's. Gettysburg Eddie's.
Gettysburg Eddie's,
Pizza.
yes sir. It's pretty good.
It's pretty good pizza there. Pretty good food in general. One thing I love about Gettysburg is just bunch of these like little hole in the wall pizza shops and like food shops and everything, and they're so good.
They are very good. I enjoy them. Well, do you have any closing remarks for us, my friend, before we part ways out of here?
Everything that we say about Gettysburg Battle and like how nice it is, once you go there in person, you'll see what we talk about. And like we're giving an understatement. Like it's beautiful there. I highly recommend it.
And again, to piggyback off of what he just said, it is a place that you really won't find anywhere else, maybe other than, going to. No, there's no other place in the world like it. It's just not there. Guys, I can't thank you enough for joining us tonight. I really do hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. Wednesday. Let's get a little raised spirits here. Wednesday, we have the Tattooed Historian to talk about Twitch, historical streaming, whatever you want to call that, what we do in here, and the community we build from it and are building our brand and what it's been like, the journey we've been on. It has been really cool to have somebody else in the same type of, field, to know that we're not just by ourselves out here. We have other people that are interested in the same thing. It's been like a community, and it's indescribable, and it's wonderful, and it's the most supportive group I've ever been in. And I just, without these guys, we wouldn't be this thing. And I think we have something really big, I hope, for our future. I think being able to sit here and have accounts like this and talking and, bouncing ideas off one another and even just having the discussions or a place to hang out is incredible and an invaluable thing. So everyone, again, if you've joined via Facebook, via YouTube, or via Twitch, thank you so much for being with us tonight. It has been an absolute pleasure again talking. Lemon, or Andrew, thank you so much for joining with us too. It was really cool to get an opinion of what it's like to tour the battlefield from maybe not your historian's perspective for once. It's good to have somebody on the field that goes to these things that we can talk to and ask, what do you see? What is your draw? Because each answer you gave me shocked me. Because it's not fair that I do this, but I perceive in my head what I think is going to be your spot, and it's nowhere close to what it was. And then your reasoning, nowhere close to what I thought it was going to be. Should I have been looking at that? Should not have been, but it was, man, I'm awesome. That's awesome. I really want to walk that field with you. Folks, thank you again for joining with us. We want to walk that field with you too. Keep our masks on so we can do it one day. Thank you all again. We'll see you soon.